What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Run the North podcast. We are, of course, back at it with the boys, the Geek, Slaves, and Miller football. We're talking about the Combine today, talking about some of our favorite performances, talking about some risers and fallers, and then we're going to get into the chaos that we call the NFL offseason. We've got a ton of stuff happening, a ton of franchise tags being handed out, tons of unnecessary money being handed out, but we'll talk about all that. But before we do, boys, how we doing?
Exhausted.
Yeah, I kind of left the boys hanging for a solid 20 minutes while I was writing an article
So,
about Andre
in order
Carter.
to make this worth it, you should go read his article on Andre Carter.
That's true, you should. millerfootball.substack.com. Just tweeted it out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll get a grade for it in one of my classes at the very least. But, doing great otherwise. I gained a new confidence today. I'm fully convinced that I can beat anybody on NFL Twitter and Just Dance. So,
Dude, I think you're so wrong. Because
no shot.
I was the champion of Just Dance at my former school. At college, I went 15-0 in Just Dance related activities. So
I smell cap.
I also
I'm dead
smell
serious.
cap.
I did not lose a game there, and that is solely because I'm a theater
Just
kid.
playing it on the DS.
And yeah, what? Shut up. No, 3DS. But
Of course.
Anybody who went to college with Jake, can you verify this? If you don't, I'm going to just assume he's lying. This sounds made up.
You think I had friends at college?
Apparently you beat 15 people at Just Dance, so one of those fuckers should be able to talk to us.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
One of your victims.
My victims, yeah. But no, I think you're wrong about that. I think I would beat you at Just Dance. Anywho,
I would not. So
when Run the North hits 500 subscribers, Jake and I will play Just Dance to determine who is the better Just Dance player.
Let's go.
When
500 subs.
When all three of us attend the NFL draft in person and meet each other for the first time, we will do a Just Dance competition.
You two will do a Just Dance competition.
Live on stage in between.
Yeah,
the first
everybody wants. We will announce a third round pick by playing Just Dance, and the winner gets to announce the pick.
Yeah, but the problem is the pick will be in long before we're done playing.
So we will hold the draft until we finish.
So all the people will be standing there staring at two people that they've never seen in their lives play Just Dance, and then turn around just to announce that Hendon Hooker's going to the Vikings.
Let's go.
In 2024?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to this year's draft. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
Huh?
It's news to me.
I was not
told you guys about
aware.
This?
I don't.
Yeah, I thought the NFL draft was something you showed up to. You had to get tickets to the NFL draft.
You got to get tickets. You got to get press passes.
I'm getting drafted, so I have to be there.
Oh, I still got to make that goddamn video. God. Okay, I've been spacing.
What about you getting drafted to the? To
I
the
make it
Vikings?
every year. No, just the same one I've always done. It's draft time, and that's scary. Because there's a non-zero chance you get drafted and have to move to some random goddamn city, and I'm afraid of it every year.
That you get lucky, like Matthew Sponauer, and an NFL team actually decides they want to draft you over TikTok.
That'd actually be kind of sick.
If it was the Broncos, I'm pretty sure Geek would lose his mind.
Are they going to pay me, though?
Like, I don't know.
No. You just get a jersey and you get to catch a pass.
Disgusting. Actually, if they want to give me tickets to the games, though, I'd be down. Because the Vikings go to Denver this year, so
there's no tickets involved. It's just you catch one pass from Russell Wilson, and then he takes you on a tour of his house.
Oh, sick!
And that's it.
I gotta go see all 13 bathrooms. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm shitting in
and
all of them.
You get a Broncos jersey that says the Geek Slays on the back, and you get to pick a number.
Yeah, the winner of the Broncos
Right.
draft sweepstakes just goes to go to Subway with Russell Wilson.
Let's go, Danger Witch! Let's go!
And you have to eat the Danger Witch.
You are forced to eat the Danger Witch in its entirety while Russell Wilson stares you in the eyes seductively.
If it's not spicy enough, do I get to kick him in the dick? He said, careful, it's spicy. I promise it's not. It's made at Subway. I promise you, it's not spicy.
I don't know. I don't need it Subway, man.
I can't say that I do very often. Yeah.
Subway's
Nobody
not
should.
on my go-to list.
No,
Do you know how
hey,
cheap it is to make a goddamn sandwich that tastes
That's
better
fair.
than Subway?
That's
Oh, to be fair, complaining about Subway. I mean, brother, you made the sandwich. Like what? Like,
But it's not my fault the ingredients
You
taste
literally
like
created
shit.
the sandwich.
Doesn't matter that you create it. And the amount of times I have gotten moldy food from Subway is like legitimately disgusting.
you live in Wyoming.
I've also gotten moldy food from a Subway in San Diego and in LA
Okay, whatever.
and once in Chicago.
To be fair,
but also
biased
Chicago.
to Subway because I worked at a Subway.
You worked at
in
a Subway.
college.
There we go.
I worked at a Subway that was open till midnight in Chicago, and I worked the closing shift. So I was alone in a Subway at midnight in Chicago.
That sounds like a horror story.
Yeah, that does not sound good.
The most threatening thing that ever happened is I made this lady a salad, and she didn't like it, so she just like punched it and then walked away.
Nice.
I was like, man, why you gotta do that to the salad? The salad didn't do anything to
Oh,
you.
yeah. It's fucking
Brother, you made this-
ASDF.
Brother, you made the salad.
I am punching your salad. Oh my
Speaking
God.
of people being interesting, I just got a comment on my video I made about Daniel Jones's contract, and it says, quote, Daniel Jones's top 10, your assessment is flawed. What an elegant way to sound like a dumbass.
Nice. It's okay. I don't see your TikToks anymore. I follow like 200 plus people on TikTok. I see 5 creators' videos, and that is it.
That's TikTok for you.
So now I have to go find your channel so I can go yell at this fucking idiot.
Let's get him.
I don't know why, but I feel like targeting people today, if you haven't noticed. Since I keep quote tweeting people on Twitter with "you're a fucking idiot, bud." That's
I
it.
saw you quote tweet the racist that we will not name.
I didn't know he was racist. I don't think I've ever seen that guy before.
Really?
Yeah, Steven had to point it out. He was like, "This dude's a known racist." And I was like, that makes sense then.
Yeah, he called Justin Fields the N-word without actually saying it.
Oh,
If that makes any sense. Someone made a tier list of like all the black quarterbacks, and the tiers were like good, bad, trash, N-word. And Justin was like in the good tier, and the guy was like, "We should put Justin Fields in that bottom tier." It's like, all right, that's surely something. But his bio also says I masturbate to Kirk Cousins highlights, so
Oh.
yeah.
All right. Well,
It's one of those guys.
no
Anyways,
better way to kick off talking about the combine. Somehow we've stumbled our way into the NFL draft. Here we are. The combine happened. It came and went, and so I thought what we would do is first talk about our favorite combine performances, guys who we think just absolutely balled out, and who we think we liked watching the most at the combine. We liked watching doing their thing the most. So, who would like to kick us off with an answer to this question? Who do you think had your favorite combine performance?
Ooh, pick me.
All right, Geek, you can go first.
It's Nolan Smith, 100%.
Stuff.
Like,
Good.
here's the thing. Will Anderson, first of all, I think. Have you watched him yet, Jake?
Yeah, I've watched him, Tyree Wilson, Van Ness, Carter, Miles Murphy. Those are my 5 so far.
Gotcha. So you were underwhelmed by Will Anderson too, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I made a TikTok video about it. He's my edge too. It's Tyree Wilson over him.
Fair enough.
For now.
I haven't watched Tyree yet, so
And I said this in my TikTok. I think that the reason why I was so underwhelmed by Will Anderson is not because he's like actually not that good. It's just because my bar for him going in was way too high. Like,
yeah.
people talked about him like he was.
Because last year he was in the Heisman race, or he probably should have been in over Aiden Hutchinson. He had a fantastic season last year, but this year you go and you turn on the tape and I reference the Texas game a ton because the Texas game he had 7 sacks in his hands and got 1.
Thank you.
And And he, like, the Texas game, not even just the sacks, he, like, got out on the edge and just missed, like, Bijan Robinson and whoever wears number 0 for Texas. It's their other running
He
back that's been
also
drafted this year.
got bullied by Bijan Robinson. He could not
and that's
beat
the thing,
Bijan
that, like,
off the edge.
He was not as dominant in one-on-one situations as I thought it would be.
Right.
Like the way the Will Anderson is talked about, you would assume that if you put him one-on-one, especially against a running back, not even like a tackle, like a running back, you would assume he's putting one move on him, getting by him, and he's getting the sack. But Bijan Robinson stood his ground, and whoever the left tackle is for the Texas Longhorns stood his ground against Will Anderson. Like, he had a few pressures in that game, but in reality, like, even when he got there, it's not like he did anything with it. Like, I don't want to sound like a Will Anderson hater, but, like, I just think that he for his own worse just got way too overrated and way too overhyped. This is like we talked about, blue chip prospect, if you want to call him, and he's not. I mean, I don't think there was a blue chip prospect like in this edge class. I think Tyree Wilson's the closest to it, but
Yeah, I would say.
No, Jalen Carter is 100%.
Well, he said edge.
in the edge class.
Missed that part.
Yeah.
I just thought you meant no blue chip prospects. It's like,
Yeah, I was gonna say there are at least 2 blue chip prospects in this class, without a doubt.
I say 3, but my love for Bijan Robinson is showing a little.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying, without a doubt, Carter and Lepke are blue chip prospects. There was no argument against either one.
Yeah.
But like Jake said with Will Anderson, first of all, I totally agree. He is incredibly underwhelming, and the best way I can describe how he plays is he's like an edge rusher if they had the assignment of a nose tackle. His favorite thing to do is create for other players, and that's fine. That's awesome. Creating for other players is great. Love guys like that. Look at Vince Wilfork. He's a Hall of Famer, 3 career sacks, because his biggest thing was he ate up space and created for other people. We love players like that. You don't draft an edge in the top 5 to do that. You don't draft an edge thinking he's going to be the savior of your defense just to get a guy that's going to go out there and plug a couple holes and let somebody else do the dirty work. Or, I'm sorry, get the glory. He's doing the dirty work. It's not. Will Anderson misses tackles far too consistently. He can't finish sacks. And when you're evaluating an edge prospect, like, yeah, not the intangibles, the athleticism is there, and he's very technically sound. But if you can't tackle, then what's it for? It's like you're doing all this cool fucking handwork and footwork and getting to the quarterback just to let him run away from you, or just to let him get away, just to let him pick up a first down or still complete the pass. It's ridiculous. And that's why I favor Tyree Wilson over him, because Tyree Wilson has no issues finishing tackles. He has no issues finishing sacks. That dude sucks ball carriers in like he's a goddamn black hole. And on top of that, he's just as physically dominant as Will Anderson, if not more. The only thing is he doesn't have that speed and that agility that Will Anderson does. And quite frankly, you don't necessarily need that as a defensive end. If you're crafty and you can overpower people like Tyree Wilson can, that's all you need to do. We've seen edge rushers play with not slow, but not being these Von Miller, Khalil Mack type athletes like Will Anderson's being praised as. And that's another thing. These comparisons for him are, in my opinion, a little disrespectful to those types of players. Like Von Miller, I think we can all agree that's a ridiculous comparison because he doesn't have the bendability that Von Miller does.
I don't know if anyone has the bendability of Von Miller.
Right. Nobody does. He's a one-of-a-kind player. So comparing anyone to him to begin with was ridiculous. But then the narrative kind of shifted to, okay, maybe he's not Von Miller, maybe he's Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack isn't letting a quarterback get away from him if he gets his hands on him. Khalil Mack isn't letting a running back get away from him. He's not. And I know tackling is something that, typically when you get to the NFL level, a good coach can work that out of you. But like I've talked about with Geek before, I can't remember if we talked about it on here specifically. He played under Nick Saban for multiple years. If Nick Saban can't teach a defensive player to tackle, can't teach a linebacker to tackle, then who can? Bill Belichick? He's not going to the Patriots.
No.
Now, Geek's got his counter argument to that. I'm sure he'll bring that up here in a moment. But Will Anderson's going to be good in the NFL. he's not going to be one of the 5 best edge rushers in football. Tyree Wilson has a far better chance of doing that. I would argue Nolan Smith has a better chance of getting there if he can overcome the size obstacle and end up as a Hassan Reddick type player, which I think is absolutely within the realm of possibility. Hell, I would even argue Lucas Van Ness can be better than him at the NFL level, unless Will Anderson figures out how to tackle, and I'm not exactly confident right now that that's something that's going to be fixed to the degree that it needs to. All right, I'm done with my rant now. I'm just disappointed by Will Anderson.
I also don't think that like the Texas game is one that he especially was pretty poor at tackling in, and it's not like he's facing like Anthony Richardson. He's like, that was Hudson Card who was getting away from him. Like Hudson Card, a guy who not only is a backup quarterback, is a bad backup quarterback, at least pocket movement wise. You watch that Texas game, and he's not like this guy who's just like dancing around the pocket and making guys miss. Will Anderson was just like, all right, give me your ankles. Oh, never mind. We'll see you. And that was it. And like, I get it's like, oh, it's Bijan Robinson. Sure, it's Bijan Robinson. But like, they were very, I mean, I don't want to discredit Bijan Robinson at all, but he is a running back matchup against an edge rusher. 9 times out of 10, probably like 9.9 times out of 10, that does not end well for the running back. So, like, yeah.
The fact that it kept ending well for Bijan is just a problem. It's one of those things. Like, the way Will Anderson was hyped, I expected him to pop off the goddamn screen like Jadeveon Clowney did. For me, that's the best prospect for me to think back to of a guy coming out of college that was just... I'm sorry. You guys, I don't know how into ball you were at the time, but Jadeveon Clowney coming out of college was a fucking animal. Like, one of the best prospects I've ever seen. Now, obviously, he didn't turn into an NFL legend, but he was a really damn good player for a long time.
Yep.
And still is. Don't know where he'll end up now, because the whole thing in Cleveland is wild. But back to my original point with Nolan Smith, Will Anderson's biggest thing was supposed to be his speed. Except Nolan Smith is, like, way faster and has a better bag of pass rushing moves and is a better run defender. And sure, I get Nolan Smith, he's smaller than Will Anderson and most edge rushers. Cool. John Randall was really small for a D tackle, too. Sometimes the heart and motor matter more than the goddamn size. I'm sorry. I haven't watched Tyree Wilson yet, but right now I have Nolan Smith as edge 1.
So all this to say that he was your favorite combine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's trying to get back into that. Yeah, that's why it was Nolan Smith, because he jumped on my board quite a bit. Not just because of combine stuff, but that played a very large factor.
Well, yeah, the combine is why I finally got around to watching Nolan Smith. He was somebody that was obviously on my radar, but wasn't somebody I was super, willing to jump into. Like, right before the combine, I was like, okay, I'm going to start to jump into some of these other prospects. And then the combine happened. I'm like, well, shit, now I got to watch Nolan Smith. Well, now I want to watch a bunch of other edge rushers, and that set me back so far. But the big thing with Nolan Smith is, despite his size, he can win inside.
Yep.
And it's not like he shows flashes of it. Like, consistently, he can win inside. He can win inside better than Miles Murphy, who is this traditional edge build, but refuses to go inside. And Miles Murphy's somebody that a lot of people were really high on originally. I think the hype's kind of calmed down there. But Nolan Smith, like Geek said, is a tremendous run defender, arguably the best run defender in the class, period. On top of that, he can win inside. He has a little bit of coverage flexibility. He's super smart. He's really good with his hands. He's an all-around polished prospect. Like, the biggest issue with him, other than his size, is he likes to bull rush a little too much. And that's something that's coachable. That's something that a coach just has to tell him on day one, hey, buddy, you ran a 4 whatever. Go run around that guy. You don't have to run through him. He's bigger than you. Make him look like a dumbass and run around him or get up underneath of him. And that'll be in his head and it'll be set. Like I said, if he plays anything like Hassan Reddick in the NFL, which is very possible, because I don't like one-to-one player comps, but my God, they are similar.
Yeah.
They are incredibly similar. But I would argue Nolan Smith has a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
I would say Nolan Smith has very, very high potential to be a better Hassan Reddick, which, given the season Hassan Reddick just had, is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm just a little too low on Will Anderson, but I don't hate Nolan Smith being higher than him for you. I know a lot of people won't agree with that, but
God, no.
fuck it.
A lot of people, I'm still seeing people saying the Bears should take Will Anderson 1. Just don't trade down. Get the generational edge. If Poles does that,
I'm calling
I'm
for
out.
his job.
I'm out.
Yeah.
He's done.
Yeah.
Like that's if you stay at 1 and don't pick Carter, you're an idiot. Like that's it. Like I'm
Kyrie
sorry.
Wilson.
I can't justify that.
You also haven't watched him yet.
No, but also when you can trade down at least twice and still get him.
I
that's
know,
stupid.
I know. Just let me push my narratives.
Like
I don't
Jalen
actually
Carter,
want to
you're
take
not trading
Kyrie Wilson
down
at 1.
and still getting. Maybe
Yeah.
at 4
Yeah.
if you only trade down once.
But the big thing is, and this relates to the combine as well, I don't know if the Bears would want Jalen Carter as like their top guy at this point. Because I understand what happened isn't as bad as what people made it out to be initially.
It's really not bad at all. He sped a little. Cool.
He
Literally
wasn't-
every person has.
Was he not intoxicated as well? I thought that was the
No.
thing. I thought he was drunk. Oh,
No.
well, that changes
At least
everything.
not
then.
according to anything I've seen, and they can't prove whether he was or not now.
Oh,
Now,
well.
the guy who crashed his car, not the
Right.
same car Jalen Carter was in, he was drunk.
right.
But, like, as far as everything I've seen is saying, dude sped. Now, not great, but also, name me
Yeah.
one human who hasn't.
Yeah, if
Okay,
it's just
that has
see,
driven, that hasn't.
Yeah. I was under the impression that he was also intoxicated. So if it's just speeding, that's different. That's marginal, or not marginally. That is much better. So I retract my statement.
I'm double checking it now because I want to make sure we're
Yeah.
being factual. I'm gonna read his warrant stuff
Right.
again.
But yeah,
No.
if it's just straight speeding,
Arrest
then...
warrants for Jalen Carter for reckless driving and racing, which means he just
Okay.
was driving fast.
Right. So okay, yeah. If
Yeah.
it's just reckless driving, again, not great, but
To me,
what are
that's
you
not
gonna
a
do?
character concern. That's just
Yeah, I mean, we had a guy get arrested before the season for doing donuts in a Hellcat. So like, granted, it was Byron Pringle, but you know.
I mean, that's valid though. I'd be
Yeah,
doing.
but he also had a kid in the back seat.
It's okay.
Like a little
It's a
kid in the
parking
booster
lot.
seat.
Were there cars in the parking lot? I guess that's the important
No.
question.
I
It's an
mean,
empty parking
he
lot.
was-
You're not gonna
Yeah,
wreck.
he was just trying to be the cool dad, but
Right.
it's still like not great.
Again, the differences between growing up in the middle of nowhere and being like from a place with humans, wild.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times I've gone drifting in a parking lot is great. And you never get in trouble.
Well,
Unless
listen,
the
when
owner
you
of the
went
store calls the cops and the cops show up and just go, you guys can't do this here. So you just go to the next parking lot over and do
Bears.
it. While the cops are
Respect it.
still sitting there because they don't care. It's like,
That's respectable. Fair enough.
it's fun.
Yeah,
times.
if it's not an intoxication thing, that's
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah.
But not a big deal.
It's all right. You assuming that is still better than the people who couldn't read and thought Jalen Carter killed a guy. So
No, I knew he wasn't the
Fair
one
enough.
driving. My thought was the two of them got drunk, decided they were going to drag race. The other guy crashed, and then Carter just took off. I thought that was what happened. But if it was just the other guy was drunk and crashed, and Carter was in another car, then still not ideal. But
no, but
better than the alternative
much,
for sure.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake, who was your favorite? Who was your guy?
Oh,
I'll go last here.
I have to go next? Okay. My favorite combine performance was Bryce Ford Wheaton. That dude
Of course.
is so fun, and he fits my narrative so well because I've always liked Bryce Ford Wheaton. And the thing is, I think, I had him listed as one of my underrated prospects yesterday when I did my podcast episode with Jackson. this dude just about a perfect athlete, like Anthony Richardson level athlete, and he's super speedy. He's very very shifty. I think what he'll end up doing in the NFL is I don't think he'll obviously do it to this extent, but I think he'll end up playing the Jalen Waddle role for a team. He just burner speed. He can take a 5-yard slant to the house. Like, I genuinely think he could do that. Like, I'm not saying that he'll be Jalen Waddle or be as good as Jalen Waddle, but I think his skill set kind of gives him the ability to do that. And so I think that. And he had a great combine performance. He jumped super high. He ran super fast, and he was a name that not many people knew before the combine, and here he stands now, kind of being actually noticed and actually being like mocked to. This is that he should be mocked and actually getting the respect he deserves. So my favorite combine performance was the man out of West Virginia.
So what kind of grade do you have on him? I haven't watched him yet. I don't know anything about him.
I would say that. I don't know. I think he could go anywhere from rounds 5 to 7.
Okay, so he's still a great guy.
He is, yeah, and it's because he's a little older, and there are some things that he definitely struggles with. Like, he is not a guy who's going to go and get you a contested pass. He's not a guy who's going to go and moss some dude, but he is a guy who's going to find himself open. I think that I wouldn't hate it if he was taken like in like the second or third round, but I got to be realistic, even though I'm biased towards him. Probably like round 5 I think would be the highest I think he'll end up going, but he's kind of like the DTR of my wide receivers, where I just have him I think way higher than anybody else does. So
is it just the athleticism that draws you to him?
It's I think what he can do for an offense that I think draws me to him because of his athleticism. I think that not only, like I said, is he a freakish athlete, but I just think that the way that he uses that skill set is something that can really elevate an NFL offense in a way that, like, I see him a lot as like a guy like what Kadarius Toney did for the Chiefs is kind of the thing that I can best compare it to, that I think he'll be able to add to a team. And so, yeah, I think a lot of it is his athleticism and it's just his raw talent, but it's also just like the ways that he can elevate a passing game and the ways that he can give a team that doesn't necessarily excel at run after the catch or yards after the catch that need to have a guy who can check it down and get a guy into space. That I think he could seriously like make an impact on the NFL offense. Maybe it's not in the way that Justin Jefferson does or Devontae Adams does, but I think it's in a way that like Tyreek Hill does, or Jalen Waddle does, or gadget guys, Kadarius Toney, or like Amon-Ra St. Brown does, So I think that's kind of what draws me to him. I mean, like I said, there are concerns with the guy, but scoring almost perfect as an athlete, at the combine, as a receiver, especially for teams that just need an infusion of youth. Like, I swear to you, he would be a good receiver, really good receiver for the Chargers if they were to take him sometime late in the draft. Like, they need a guy like him, and if they don't get Jalen Hyatt, I would say that Bryce Ford Wheaton would be the next guy up for them, or should be.
Valid. All right, so
Miller.
My guy, I got to give an honorable mention before I talk about my actual favorite.
Could have gave like 7 of those, goddammit.
I know,
Cheater.
but I got to give one that was technically my favorite, but there's just not as much to talk about. That's Andrew Voorhees, who tore his ACL while I think it was doing agility drills, and then came out and not set the combine record, but had the highest bench press out of anybody at the combine. He's one of the better guards in this class, and tearing his ACL is obviously a major setback. But to see the guy overcome adversity like that is awesome. I think that's a great testament to not only his character, but his dedication to the sport. And I think, if anything, that's the type of move that saves your draft stock a little bit, because obviously a guard tearing his ACL, he's probably going to fall to day 3 now. But I think going out there and benching like that is the difference between going in like the 5th round and going in even the late 3rd round or the early 4th round. I think it's a big deal for him, and it's awesome to see that he was able to go out there and do that. But My actual favorite combine for performance, got to give it to Cole Kmet's future brother-in-law, Lucas Van Ness, who absolutely tore it up. First of all, Lucas Van Ness, just as is one of my favorite prospects in this class. But he came out, measured in at 6'5", 272 pounds, ran a 4.58 40, had a 1.64 second 10-yard split, and he had a 7.02 second 3-cone, which was the 8th fastest among all defenders, not just defensive linemen, not just edge rushers, all defenders, which is nuts. The fact that this guy can move like that while being built like a Greek god is insanity. He's going to be a top 10, top 15 pick, and yeah, he's a little rough around the edges, but god damn it, I love this guy. Like, if the Bears trade down too far and miss out on Tyree Wilson, this is my guy. This is who I want. I am obsessed with Van Ness.
Fair enough. Sorry, that face was not about you. I'm
Okay.
scrolling
really
through
thought-
Twitter, and
Okay.
holy
No,
fuck knuckles,
Can't be doing
dude.
that, man.
I gotta keep up. I gotta be able to break news on the pod if I see some news. Somebody's gotta be staying wired in, goddammit.
I really thought you were about to just berate me for being a Lucas Van Ness fan.
No, so for edge rushers so far, I've watched Will Anderson, Nolan Smith, Miles Murphy, and I'm not moved. And
I mean,
no, that's it for edge rushers.
Oh, you haven't
So
watched
far.
Van Ness yet?
No.
There's
Nope.
not a
Van
lot
Ness,
on him because he
good.
was he was a backup at Iowa, but there was some weird shit going on where their coaching staff what's the word I'm looking for? Favored the older players, so
Valid.
he didn't get the start, and that kind of hurt him. But there's clips of him going up against the top tackle prospects, both Paris Johnson and Peter Skoronsky. He fucking lit up Skoronsky on one play, like took him off his feet and laid him out. And then Paris Johnson, there's a clip of him driving him all the way into C.J. Stroud's laps. So
Because Skoronsky has little arms.
yeah, I know, but he's still one of the top offensive line prospects, and it was just funny to watch Van Ness fucking ragdoll him.
Skoronsky just needs to move to guard already.
Oh, no,
I stand by
listen,
that. He doesn't have the
he's gonna
footwork
be-
or the arm length to be a real tackle.
No, but he's going to be an elite guard.
Yeah,
An elite
I
guard.
know people
Yeah.
talked about Rashawn Slater the same way, also a Northwestern tackle with shorter arms. Slater was refined in every area.
Yeah.
His arms were just short, so he was still fine.
Mhm.
Skoronsky is not refined, and his arms are short. He's going to get bullied.
Yeah.
Sorry. The tweet I was looking at, the first tweet was from PFF, where they
Well,
said,
that's your first mistake.
no, actually, I kind of agree with the tweet, though. They're like, Anthony Richardson had the single most impressive scouting combine for a quarterback ever. I agree. It was when I scrolled down to one of the replies to some idiot. Well, he is a New York sports guy, so they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Apparently, that's what we've learned today.
Mhm.
Richardson is a far inferior quarterback than Terrell Pryor and Tim Tebow. Both of those guys were superior athletes as well. If you just watched the tape and there was no combine, he wouldn't sniff being a first-round pick. Yes, he would. He was projected as a first-round pick
He
before
would,
the combine.
yeah.
You know why? And I agree with everybody here because everybody keeps saying, look at the college stats. So everybody just responds with Josh Allen's. Because if you remember, Josh Allen's college numbers were awful.
Mhm.
But guess what? He'd make 4 or 5 plays every game where you'd go, holy shit. Guess what?
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson's the same way. NFL teams will always bet on talent. Sometimes they get tricked by a guy like Zach Wilson. The difference is Zach Wilson was having success doing all of the wrong things. Anthony Richardson failed while doing all of the right things. He did everything right. It just didn't work. He put it together. Now we just gotta get him a
Yeah.
coach who can help finish the molding process.
Refine it, polish it. Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell is that coach. Sorry.
No, it's gonna be Frank Reich. I'd love to see him in Carolina. It's never gonna happen, but I want it so bad.
I don't know what Carolina's gonna do, man.
I don't know. They're gonna trade up to 1. Anyways, no, I just want to point out. I was looking up Lucas Van Ness's RAS score to give you a better idea of the type of athlete he is and whatnot. He only did 17 reps at the bench.
Oof.
Which is crazy, considering on film he looks like one of the strongest prospects in this class. So I don't know if his speed to power is just the greatest of any prospect ever, which is very possible because he does generate speed to power at a very, very high level. It's just maybe it's even more so than I thought, because 17 reps at the bench for a dude who is a primary power rusher who specializes in just running through people and having a killer bull rush is something. That's for sure.
It makes me question, was his strength only winning because he was playing against college players?
Yeah, see, I get that.
Is he going to win against, actual pro athletes?
I get that. Yeah, that's valid. It's just I'm leaning more towards the converting speed to power aspect.
Fair.
I just think that's going to be a lot more. Jake, you've watched Van Ness, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. I mean, can you verify?
Yeah,
that his speed to power is.
I think that it's legitimately ridiculous. He is a guy who, at the very beginning of the draft process, was pretty highly touted, and then people started watching him, and they were like, Van Ness isn't worth this kind of pick. And then I was like, all right, well, obviously you guys sit down and watch him yourself. And it's pretty much everything Miller said. It's just like he's just destroying the top tackle prospects in the class, and I think that he has a game that I think will translate very well to the NFL, and I think that there are very few tackles in the NFL who can effectively and consistently stop the type of pass rusher that Lucas Van Ness is. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I think is really interesting to see, how he's going to match up against guys that he has to go up against. Whoever he gets drafted to, it'll be interesting to see who his tackle matchups are going to be. But I think that he's going to feast against some guys in the NFL because there's just very few guys who can consistently stop him there. And also, just to comment finally on Geek's Twitter scrolling during podcasts, that is, in fact, the reason why I found out that Devontae Adams got traded was live on his podcast. He was like, "You'll never guess what just happened."
That's actually true. I broke the news to Jake.
and I was like, what? And he was just like, Devontae Adams just went to the Raiders. I was like, you're lying. Whatever.
He was like, you're a liar. You just biased.
And the rest of the episode, I was just like, oh.
Yeah. Doom scrolling is helpful.
That is true, yeah. This is how I'm going to find out Rodgers gets traded one of these weeks.
That's true.
But Miller, you were looking for your notebook, seeming like you were going to say something. So something you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to double check my notes on Van Ness real quick. I'm bad at remembering these things. I need to get better at that. But this is the first year that I've gone in depth, keeping track of every little trait I have for every player. So I'm not quite there yet. Obviously, that comes with time. But I think the other big thing with Van Ness specifically is his hand usage is very, very good, and his instincts when it comes to countering and knowing how to use his hands is also at a high level. I know you're going to say phrasing.
That's not what I was laughing about.
Oh, okay.
Ed Donatel trended for 4 hours after Daniel Jones signed his contract.
Yeah, how much of that contract is he getting?
It should be all of it.
Yeah, just most of them.
Yeah, but anyways, point being, he's not a one-trick pony like a lot of people think he is, where he's all power. He's good with his hands. There's a little bit of underrated flexibility and burst. Granted, he's not bendy like Von Miller or some crazy shit, but he's going to be able to get around you and things like that. And I'm really, really excited to see how his game's going to translate to the NFL. And like I said before, if Tyree Wilson doesn't end up in Chicago, Lucas Van Ness will be one hell of a consolation prize. especially given his connection to Colt Kmet, which I find so funny that people really are digging into that.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about our favorite combine performance, so I think it's time that we head into some risers and fallers after the combine.
Real quick,
Yes.
before we do that, I have a question for you guys. So, do either of you talk about the NFL with people of like an older generation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you go as far to talk about draft prospects and like how they project and things like that?
The only person I really talk about that with was my dad. But yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm getting at. I'm talking about my dad too. Does he have a very like strict mindset where it comes to prospects where if they're not polished, he has no interest?
No. Actually, when the draft process first started, he watches a lot of college football. And the draft process first started, I like walked downstairs and I was like, Dad, who do you think's the best quarterback in this class? And he, without hesitation, just went Anthony Richardson. I was like, oh, because obviously at this point I hadn't watched him. I was like, I barely knew who Anthony Richardson was because I don't watch that much college football, honestly. I was like, but what about Bryce Young? And he's like, just watch the. He basically just said, just watch the tape. I was like, man, okay. And he turns out he's right. So
yeah. See, my dad, I don't want to make it out to sound like he doesn't know ball. He knows ball. My dad is super, super smart when it comes to football. He taught me everything I know and then some. But when it comes to talking about draft prospects, because my Substack articles I write, I send to him. And then I'll send him links to like different mock drafts and different clips and things like that. And I've shown him my notes. And earlier, him and I were talking about the Edge class. And I brought up how much I like Tyree Wilson. He's like, yeah, but he's still got a little ways to go, and I don't know if I want to take that. And I was like, yeah, but he's close. He's like, yeah, but if you're picking a player in the top 10, he's got to be perfect. I was like, well, I don't...
There's none of those.
Right. And then we were talking about the quarterback class, and he was like, yeah, I don't think it's a very strong quarterback class. And I was like, I really like it. I like the potential of a lot of these guys and things like that. And he's like, yeah, but there's only one of them I think you're going to start right away, and I don't know how that fares for us trading down. And I was like, well, people are going to take that gamble. And he's like, well, that's not what I would do. And like, I get that, because growing up in the 80s, it's like there weren't as many of these big, flashy, traitsy projects. It's a guy came into the NFL. Like, his mentality is, once you get to the NFL, you kind of are who you are, and there's very little room for growth just because you've been playing football for so long. And again, it's not a mentality I agree with,
right.
But I understand where he's coming from. And I just didn't know if that was him specifically, because as much as I love my father, he is rather stubborn. So I didn't know if that was a him thing or if that's an older generation thing or what it is. So I was curious to ask.
I will say that I have heard words from my grandfather along the lines of there are only 2 or 3 quarterbacks I would take over Max Duggan. So that is something that I have heard, because
once you get to
Max
that
Duggan has
generation,
heart.
it's a little different.
Max Duggan has heart.
Well, he's a TCU fan.
Oh, well,
So,
there you go.
Oh, well, yeah, that's
about
a
it.
little different.
That's like me with my Oklahoma players. Like, I overrate them all the time. Right now, I have Anton Harrison as tackle 1, which I don't think is overrated.
Tackle 3.
He's the only tackle in this class that is actually a tackle. Harris Johnson has played 1 year at tackle and was actually really awful. He was constantly getting beat.
Dude, people are trying to
tell
tell
me.
me.
Tackle 2 or 3.
I got into an argument with somebody on Twitter about how this guy is dead set that Paris Johnson Jr. is an immediate day 1 starter in the NFL as a left tackle. I was just like, man. It was because I had him mocked to the Eagles, and the guy was like, "Why would they take a tackle?"
Because Lane Johnson is gone in a year or 2.
Lane Johnson's probably gone, and even if he's not, Paris Johnson is not going to start on that Eagles offensive line. But who cares? Why not give a guy who only played 1 year at left tackle, Lane Johnson, to work next to or work behind? Right. Also, Paris Johnson can effectively play guard. Am I wrong? He
did play guard. He is a guard. That's why Anton Harrison's the best tackle, because the other 2 tackle prospects that people care about aren't tackles.
What are the odds the Eagles going next year with both Lane Johnson and Isaac Seumalo? pretty low, right?
Very low.
Yeah.
One of those two guys, Paris Johnson, could fill that role, even if he is like a true day one starter. But I don't even think he is.
So
Like,
Lane Johnson, I think, is still under contract. It's just about whether he'll retire or not.
he retires, yeah.
Yeah.
Milo's just straight up a free agent, but yeah.
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 Looking at my tackle rankings real quick, just to go off what Geek was saying, I did have a higher grade on Johnson and Skoronski, but I'm also evaluating them as like offensive line unless it's just pure tackle, because I think they both project as elite tackles, or not as elite tackles, as elite guards. So maybe I should alter my my grading a little bit there, but I do have Anton Harrison at 3, and I think in terms of playing pure tackle, he would be the highest for me. So maybe I should make some adjustments there.
Yep.
But I do think it has prospects with upside and just being an impact player, period. Maybe not necessarily as the position they're declaring for. I think they're both better, but I do think Anton Harrison will be a better tackle.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
I'll probably just move them both to guards on my rankings once I actually get into guards. That might be the best course of action, at the very least for Skoronski. Because he is a
Skoronski
guard.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah. I think what'll end up happening is Johnson will probably drop to tackle 2 or 3, and then I'll just list Skoronski as a straight guard.
Yeah.
I gotta do that.
But I mean, yeah.
Cody Mauch though, or Mauch.
Cody Mauch, good guy.
Whatever the hell you say, Mauch.
Good guy.
Yeah, love that guy. Got him a DM the other day. We'll have to see if anything comes from that. Wouldn't that be a fun podcast guess?
I gotta shoot some
he would
DMs.
be. Yeah.
We're getting Mo Ibrahim and Eric Gray on the podcast.
Bryce Ford Wheaton, if you're listening to this, check your Twitter DMs.
I tried to shoot him a DM. I don't think his DMs were open.
Bryce Ford?
Mo Ibrahim and Eric Gray were. I know I definitely DM'd them.
I
Let's
definitely
go.
sent a DM to Bryce Ford Wheaton, so.
Yeah.
Maybe he just blocked Miller Football.
No, I can see everything. It's just he didn't have the DM option.
Gotcha.
No, I had to email for CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Blake Freeland. I also had to email.
The tackle at BYU?
Yeah, because his agency was listed in his bio, and I figured it's better to go through management with that kind of thing if they have one already.
Yeah.
What really pissed me off is I didn't have any way to get a hold of Hunter Lepke. His DMs weren't open, and he didn't have any management listed. So I like added him on Twitter, but he didn't see it. It's not like Mason Wake, who did see me mention him on Twitter, sadly. Or the other fullback that actually responded to my DM and will be on the podcast. Spoiler alert, that's happening at some point. Not going to say who, though.
Oh, I thought you were saying there was another one.
You should.
No, just the one that I lost my shit about during my 10 a.m. class today.
Yeah. That was something to wake up to, dog.
Very
I woke
exciting.
up, checked my
Very
phone.
exciting stuff.
I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? What the fuck? Hold up.
The fact that it was so easy, too.
Right?
Like, it wasn't even like 24 hours.
I am
don't
sad.
think.
No, it wasn't.
My fullback doesn't have his DMs open. I'm sad.
Doesn't? Cortez Thaddeus Ham Jr. does not have his DMs open.
He does
What a
not.
guy. But, I mean, yeah.
Called him by his government name in an article last night. I wonder if
That's
that would bother
wild.
him.
It bothers me for some reason. I don't like it.
I was listing all the I was talking about all the Vikings that could potentially be cap casualties, and I was like, possibly even the legendary Cortez Thaddeus Ham Jr.
The Ham God. Ham God.
I couldn't figure out if Ham God had a space in between it, so I didn't use Ham God. I was gonna call him the Ham God,
There you go.
but I didn't want to get his nickname wrong, so I just used the full name.
Really quick, can we bring up another Vikings legend?
No.
It's
no.
important. Did you guys not
Okay.
see the KJ Osborne stuff?
Oh yeah, I did.
My
hear about
man's
that. Go
literally saved a
your
dude from a
thought.
burning car. KJ Osborne, the
How
GOAT.
does this make him a combine riser or faller?
It doesn't. We talked about CJ Ham, so I thought I could slip this in there.
Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
Did you know that, Geek?
I don't know if I did. I don't think I did.
Yeah, that was the first team he played for.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you should have played
well,
him
no,
twice.
because he didn't. He never played a
Preseason,
snap.
But
Yeah,
he
okay.
didn't play.
That's
I think
why.
he was cut after the preseason because
We also still had the ham god.
Not only that, but y'all had him play in a different position.
Ah,
You had him play in his college position, and he didn't translate as well. So then he went to that other team, and that other team moved him to his real position, and then he became the GOAT.
I blame Mike Zimmer.
That's real. That's real. Anyways,
Or
combine
who
risers
would
and
coach him?
fallers.
The OC at the time. Kevin Stefanski, probably. It is Kevin
Stefanski moment.
Stefanski's fault.
That's a Stefanski moment.
That it is. A lot of those lately. Sorry, risers
Yeah.
and fallers. Jake, you first.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I think what the way we want to do this is you don't have to give one of each. Just give your biggest riser and or faller. And I think my biggest faller, I might steal one of you guys' here. My biggest faller is Kayshon Boutte, because that dude sucks. Apparently, he had a terrible combine, and having a terrible combine while also being a garbage human being is not that good of a combination. So, Kayshon Boutte, who has off the field issues and had a terrible combine. If you don't know what he did,
I don't. I'm looking it up.
Don't tell your parents, and don't say it on the podcast.
Did he actually do something bad? I thought he just didn't like his coach.
No, I thought he got like.
No, he is. Wow. He definitely did something. I've heard some stories.
So you're working
Boutte,
off assumptions.
No. Yes. Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
I don't.
No, you're saying the same thing I saw. Kayshon Boutte is a bad person.
What?
He is not a good dude.
What?
Okay, Miller, send me whatever you're looking at somehow, because Google is not giving me answers.
I just looked up controversy and it was the first article.
Okay, I'll try that.
Text it to you.
While you guys are figuring this out, Kayshon Boutte had a terrible combine on top of the things that Miller is now discovering about him. I don't think that this dude is I'm not gonna say he's undraftable, but he is so far down my list of guys I would even think of drafting as a receiver at this point.
He's a Packer, unfortunately.
If Packers drafted him, I don't know what I would do, but I do not like Kayshon Boutte, not only as a guy off the field, but as a player. He is just kind of bad. So my biggest faller is Kayshon Boutte.
Interesting.
If I had to pick a riser, it'd be Darnell Washington, because he's not my tight end too, but carry on.
That's valid.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm going to take a more positive spin on this and talk about my biggest riser, and that is, I always butcher this man's name, Adetomiwa Adebare, the defensive lineman from
Northwestern.
Northwestern, yes. Holy cow. What a combine he had. 282 pounds. He ran a 4.49 40-yard dash, 37.5-inch vertical, 10-foot 5-inch broad jump. And his 40-yard dash was exactly as fast as Tank Dell, who is 117 pounds lighter than Adebare. And a wide receiver.
And a receiver.
He also put up 27 reps at 225 on the bench, which, holy cow. He's an athletic freak. I haven't watched him, but to my knowledge, he's actually not the rawest guy in the world on top of having this freak athleticism. His hand usage is supposed to be pretty good, and he's supposed to understand counters pretty well. So if that's the case, we might have just went from a day 3 prospect to a late first round pick. Call me crazy. But if he's this player that I'm told he is, on top of having this athletic profile, why wouldn't a team like Kansas City take a flyer on him? Why wouldn't a team like Philadelphia take a flyer on him at the end of the first round? It makes too much sense.
Yeah.
It's... goddamn. I apologize for butchering his name, but goddamn.
All right. Geek.
I have too many. I have too many.
You can
Pick
name one
one, loser.
but
Nah, I'm gonna pull a Miller and give like
have no
7 honorable mentions because fuck you. So
you gave one.
yeah, but if Miller gets to give 1, I get to give 12. That's life. No. Sorry, no. Miller gave 1, so I get to give 10 extra. 1 extra for every win that the Vikings had more than the Bears. I'm an asshole. No, I'm going to go with DJ
so
Turner,
funny.
the corner out of Michigan. He's the biggest riser. I wanted to go Bijan Robinson, but like everybody knew he was the best running back in this class. He just proved all the doubt wrong. Like, he's not fast enough. 4.46 is fast enough. But no, it's got to be DJ Turner out of Michigan. His combine grade actually rates, let me double check this, because this site is annoying. Are you going to load? He graded as the 4th best corner at the combine. Only behind Brian Branch, who is still a goddamn safety, NFL.com, Christian Gonzalez, and Joey Porter Jr. Those are the only guys who graded above him at the combine.
Joey Porter Jr.
DJ Turner was like relatively unknown and was considered like a mid-round pick. He might have just propelled himself into a late day 1 or a day 2 pick, which is kind of what the combine's about. You get these random guys who just spring up draft boards.
Yeah.
And it does help when you run a 4.26. If I am any team in the AFC East, that's the corner I want.
Yep.
You go guard Tyreek. You got this.
Yeah, pretty much.
It could work. Or it couldn't. But
it could.
He also had, oh God, I don't want to see all players. Oh, that's right. Like, no corners did any of the shuttles or the 3-cone or any of that because I don't know why. I really don't get that. Are we all doing biggest fallers too, or are we just moving on?
Jake just said to do riser or faller. I don't have a faller.
Fair enough.
My riser, like I quickly mentioned, is Darnell Washington. I think the ability he has to block and be effective in the play action game. I have not watched tight ends, but I think that right now, just based on what I've seen out of small clippets of people, he's my wide receiver tight end 2 behind Michael Mayer. But I guess we'll see how that ends up working out. But I guess he'd be my biggest riser. Him and Anthony Richardson, if he could rise any more than he already has. But yeah,
there is a biggest faller. It's Jordan Addison.
Oh yeah,
tough scenes for him. Yes,
his combine was
tough
so
scenes.
bad.
Yeah,
for what he was supposed to be, it's not good.
Shout out Jordan Addison. We'll never get him on the podcast now, but shout out Jordan Addison.
Yeah, sorry, Doc. We're also not getting Keyshawn Booty, so that's good. I don't think we wanted to, but
I don't know if we'd want him. One of us would say something too stupid, and he'd be like, all right, well, I'm out.
You want to tell us why you left LSU?
Now, we'll keep this between us clearly, but did you do it?
Yeah, off the record.
Off the record. We stopped the recording. Did you do it?
Did you do it?
We got him. We got him.
You got pictures?
We got him. Clip that.
Exclusive Run the North breakthrough right there.
Oh, good.
Could you imagine we're the ones to take his draft stock?
Fucking
Dude, his draft stock is already tanked.
According to at Run the North Pod, Keyshawn Boutte is guilty.
Keyshawn Boutte admits to doing what he's being accused of via at Run the North Pod, and then people will click on our Twitter and just see all the various just stupid mock drafts we've done and be like, are we serious? These guys?
These guys?
The fullback guy, really? He's the one breaking the Keyshawn Boutte news.
It's still better than Schefter just weirdly trolling everybody on a shitty Barstool Sports podcast.
I mean, to be fair, yeah.
I talk a lot of
And
shit on Barstool. I'm sorry if you guys like them.
I don't love Barstool.
Geek, remind me what quarterback he was talking about in that clip.
Lamar. He was trading Lamar to Washington. What I don't understand is why anybody believed Schefter in that moment. Schefter is not handing his phone to some fucking idiot who runs a podcast. I promise. He's not.
And speaking of Lamar,
he's a Viking.
Going with this?
He's a Viking.
Free agency stuff, off-season stuff. We are fully into the off-season, and here we go. Let's start talking about the QB news. We won't start with Lamar because Lamar is probably going to be our most talked about guy. So we'll get a few other things out of the way. Start with Derek Carr. Derek Carr of the Saints. Pretty standard routine, expected it to happen move. I don't have much to say, which is why we're starting with this one, because this is just the most Saints thing they could have done, is just sign him to a completely backloaded 4-year contract and let it ride.
Yeah, no, I've got some pretty strong opinions about this one.
Go ahead.
I like Derek Carr. I've gone on record saying I like Derek Carr. My opinion on him has soured in the past year, obviously. Didn't have the greatest season.
He literally played better this year than he did last year. We all need to stop with this. He did not play bad. You are letting the idiot Raiders fans tell you that he was bad when really he's just being scapegoated.
I am.
I get he missed a couple throws. Every quarterback does.
I mean, look, I'll put it this way. I think it's not so much his performance this past year that's the big thing. It's more or less the situation he's in and the type of quarterback he is. He's fine. Derek Carr is fine. He's a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL, and he's somebody that you can win football games with. You got to have a lot of talent around him. And honestly, I don't know if at this point in his career he's somebody that's going to take you very far in the playoffs. So you look at a team like the Saints, who have Chris Olave. He's great. Adam Prentice, my boy. Maybe Alvin Kamara? Don't know what's happening there. No other receivers. No tight end. Beat up offensive line. Aging defense that's slowly disintegrating. Bad coaching staff. No money. And a GM that thinks he can solve everything by kicking the can further and further down the road. This is a move that screams, we are content with mediocrity. You can't do that as an NFL team. I'm not saying the Saints should go out and tank. Obviously, tanking is illegal. This is a team that needs to accept the reality and start moving on. They already lost Teron Armstead. They're going to lose Marcus Davenport in free agency, which, for better or worse, but still, he's a big name. Oh no. What?
I'm not saying this means anything, but you might be intrigued by this.
Ooh.
DJ Moore jerseys are on like mega sale, kind of, on NFLshop.com right now. So are Rondale Moore jerseys for some reason.
3-team trade, let's go! Rondale Moore and DJ Moore. Listen. People have been saying all offseason, Justin Fields needs more help. So what is Ryan Poles going to do? He's going to go out and get both Moores. Mic drop. He wins. Anyways, in all seriousness.
That was just, I'm sorry. Every time I see jerseys go on sale, it intrigues me.
Yeah, no, I thought you were giving me the stink eye like you were about to be like, Marcus Davenport is one of the best edges in football, and you were wrong.
Nah.
No, he's fine. He's not elite. He's not bad. He's fine. Okay, stop making faces. You're scaring me.
Sorry, I'm just even more confused. Basically, every Panthers jersey is on mega sale. Are the Panthers doing new uniforms?
Giving us the whole roster for number one.
Maybe. Are they getting new uniforms or something? Like,
maybe, I don't know.
Also, Derek Carr Raiders jerseys went on sale yesterday and I think sold out in less than 24 hours.
I respect that.
I'm a little sad. I was going to buy one.
Anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is the Saints are a team that very obviously need to accept reality. They're in a terrible, terrible spot. They need to start moving on from some of their older pieces, guys like Michael Thomas, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, guys like that. Prioritize the youth, guys like Chris Olave, Alante Taylor. You need to figure out what the hell's going on with the left tackle whose name I can't remember that likes to legally assault people. Help me out here. Their first round pick last year that faded into obscurity extremely quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Trevor Penning, yeah. You need to figure out what's going on with him. You need to start tearing it down. But instead, like Jake said, they signed Derek Carr to this massive contract, backload the fuck out of it, and now they're stuck in limbo, and they're not going to go anywhere. Like, yeah, they'll probably win the NFC South. They're going to get bounced in the first round. They're going to get absolutely trounced in the first round, quite honestly. Watch them have to go up against a team like Minnesota or Detroit. Actually, I don't know about Minnesota. They're kind of tearing things down a little bit too, but who knows where they're going to go.
We're still going to have the best roster in the NFC North, and I stand by that.
Well, Detroit's close.
Our defense, is it?
I really like Detroit's team.
Who has the better quarterback?
You guys do.
Who has better running backs?
Okay, you guys do. For now,
we don't know what Dalvin's going on. Yep.
Right.
Even if not, is Jamal Williams is a free agent. I'd argue Ken Nwangwu can be better than DeAndre Swift.
Is Jamal a free agent?
I believe so. Ooh, that is 100% me working off Madden, though. I just know he's always in the free agency class.
Anyways.
Wide receivers, who's better?
You guys assuming that, well, actually, no, it would stay the same regardless. KJ Osborne and Jettas are good enough. Offensive line's better in Detroit.
Well, but if you break it down position by position, the tackles are better in Minnesota. It's just the interior that's better in Detroit. The tight ends are better in Minnesota.
Its weakest link.
The edge unit in Minnesota is tons better. Aiden Hutchinson
assuming they keep everything together.
Even if they don't, they'll keep Daniil, so they lose Big Z. I'd still argue DJ Wanham is better than Aiden Hutchinson at this exact moment.
With that. I disagree. I think AJ
Go watch
DJ
Wanham film. Go watch Wanham's film.
I'm sorry, I'm not a fucking Wanham expert.
Valid.
Anyways, the point I'm trying to make here. Saints kicking the can too far down the road. They're buffoons. They need to accept reality like a certain other team I'm sure we'll talk about here in a few minutes is doing with a potential trade that they're trying to get done. And it's tough. It's tough for Saints fans. Like I said, y'all will probably win the NFC South, but that's as far as you're going.
The Saints just did what the Vikings did in 2017. Going and getting a quarterback who should be good enough to win. The difference is the Saints roster isn't even near that. They're not a winning team. Like when Minnesota went and got Kirk, we had a top 10 defense, a top 10 offense, a top 10 special teams. Yeah, you go get Kirk. The Saints have a bottom 10 defense, a really bad offense. You're going to have Chris Olave, and that is the only weapon on that goddamn offense. Kamara's probably going to be in prison. Michael Thomas has a $60 million cap hit. You're cutting that dude.
Thomas won't be there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my point. You're going to have Olave and a bad O-line and a defense that is somehow older than Minnesota's was last year, which doesn't even track. Also, looking into it, them pushing kicking the can down the road is really wild. Cam Jordan will have a $4 million cap hit in 2027. Right now, that's just right now without them kicking any more cans down the road. Taysom Hill will have, as of right now, has like an $8 million cap hit in 2027. Taysom Hill is old. It's because most BYU players are old. That's kind of how BYU works, because missions and whatever. But
yeah,
like Derek Carr, I get the signing. The deal actually isn't that bad. It's just
wrong team.
Well, especially now after we saw what Daniel Jones signed for, the Derek Carr deal is a goddamn steal.
Yeah.
So
and the crazy thing is, it's not even the biggest steal out of the quarterbacks right now.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I think just to kind of cap off talking about Derek Carr, I think that if I were him, I have to assume right now that the Jets made an offer. I would take it. If they didn't, then they're stupid. Because
the Jets are too bought in on your guy, so I don't think they did.
You have to have a backup plan though, because Rodgers does this every year. You don't know if you're ever going to get him.
Their backup plan is Joe Flacco.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mike White.
Yes.
Or literally any free agent quarterback who's made.
Yeah,
Jameis Winston, Teddy Bridgewater. They have 100 names that they as their backup plan, I think.
Okay, so a couple of things before we move on. Geek, quick time check first.
We are an hour and 10 minutes in.
Okay, sweet. How would you boys feel about keeping this free agency segment as we're just talking about all the quarterback stuff that's going on? And then
I want to bring up EK, but other than that, yeah. Quarterbacks and EK.
Quarterbacks and EK? Are we down for that? Okay. So, moving on from Derek.
Hold on. I feel like we can throw the running backs in there.
Okay, so
he's trying to go less than. He's trying to not go 2.5 hours.
I get it. I'm just saying. I think we can brush over the running backs. I just want to make it when I made the hint about the team that's acknowledging a rebuild earlier makes sense.
That's fair.
Really, we only have to talk about Henry. We don't have to talk about the other ones if we don't want to.
But I guess moving on from Derek Carr and talking about somehow, some way, Daniel Jones is being paid $40 million.
41
a year.
He's getting
$41 million a year. This is absolutely absurd. And here is my time to bring this up. I would much rather have Drew Lock on a cheap contract than I would Daniel Jones on the one he just got. And whatever, Miller,
I agree, though.
Deep down.
I'm sorry.
If
you gave Drew,
agree.
I hate Drew Lock.
You know you agree.
More than anyone.
Say something good about Drew Lock.
I don't want to, but I mean, I hate Drew Lock more than literally anyone. I am his biggest hater. But I'm sorry, you give him Brian Daboll and hold his hand the way Daniel Jones got his hand held? I'm sorry, the three of us could do what Daniel Jones did. Throw to your first read or throw it away. Fucking Jesus Christ, $41 million for that? He's getting $6 million than Kirk Cousins. He had 22 total touchdowns. He's getting $2 million per touchdown.
Yeah.
What?
Absurd.
I know it's a dramatic overpay, but I don't think I can get behind the Lock, unfortunately.
I stand by any free agent quarterback
can hit
would
an
have been
open
better.
receiver.
Valid.
I'm not joking. I legitimately question Lock's ability to hit an open receiver. But in all fairness, there's a lot of receivers I question that. I'll tell you right now, this is my hot take. I don't think Mitch Trubisky can run that offense.
I 100% do.
Mitch can't hit an open receiver.
He's not.
Cannot consistently hit receivers. His mechanics are fucked.
And Jones's aren't?
No, they are, but I mean, Jones hits them more often than not if they're wide open. Mitch Trubisky didn't.
I mean, that's. Hold on. I gotta check. I want to prove you wrong here. It's very.
I mean,
important.
listen. Maybe the numbers don't back it up. Maybe I'm just looking at things in hindsight and being a salty Bears fan. But
the numbers are weirdly similar,
Trubisky.
other than interceptions. But also, just see that Steelers team.
Yeah.
I mean, when Kenny Pickett replaced him, he immediately threw 3 of them. So.
Yeah.
I think what has surprised me the most about this whole Daniel Jones thing is Giants fans being like, they did the right thing. Finally, they signed him.
Giants fans are dumb.
I'm just like, man, like, who do you think this man is?
They're paying him more than we're paying Kirk by like $7 million.
That's the thing.
That's the third time you've brought that up, and I still
care.
think it's valid that you're continuing to bring. That's my point. I think it's valid that you keep bringing it up because it's absurd.
I saw a Giants fan say was before Jones got signed, it was like, if Geno and Derek got this much, then Daniel Jones deserves at least this much. I'm like, he isn't better than either of those two.
Not even close.
Like, give me a break. Like, and I get it. Like, oh, he won a playoff game and we can win with him, so why not lock him down for the next 4 years? And no, and we got to tag Saquon Barkley and they're best friends. Like, please stop. and think about who he's a Duke quarterback. It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry. He's the best Duke quarterback of all time.
I just can't wait to watch the Giants finish fourth in their division for the next 4 years. I can't wait.
They're at least going to this year.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't care who
not,
Washington rocks at quarterback.
quarterback.
I don't care. If it's Heineke again, they're still better. Because I'd argue Heineke's a better goddamn quarterback.
No, he certainly
stand
is.
behind
I agree
that.
with that 100%.
But, yes, Daniel Jones feel bad. Very bad.
I just want to say,
Yes.
in defense of the Giants, they overpaid the shit out of Daniel Jones, and the contract is awful.
Huh?
But they did give themselves an out.
That's true.
Daniel Jones, all of his guaranteed money is within the first 2 years.
Which means if they
So if they
second,
right, if they truly believe that they can or Dable can recreate what Jones had, potentially with some better weapons and a better defense, and they think they can win more playoff games or whatever, then it's not the worst move in the world. However,
also, they structured it right. His cap hit's technically only 19 mil.
Yeah, it's a shit ton of bonuses and incentives. That's the other big thing.
Well,
and this
I
was
think the Giants do deserve a little bit of credit for that.
It was the signing bonus. His signing bonus. He basically made $94 million today. Basically.
Yeah. This was the smartest dumb signing ever. I mean, they at least did everything they can to ensure that this deal doesn't completely backfire on them.
Right. And don't get me wrong, Daniel Jones sucks.
Yes.
He is at best the 26th quarterback or 26th best quarterback in football. He is a bottom of the barrel starter. But he did execute an offense that their coach was able to run with very limited help. And the Giants were able to structure the contract very, very well that benefits them in a good way. So I think they deserve credit for that. And I understand why they made the move. I don't agree with it. I think it was a bad decision. We were talking about before the podcast. I think the more I think about it, the more cheap free agent quarterbacks come to mind that could also execute this offense, including Geek's boy Teddy Bridgewater. I also think there's some late round draft picks that could execute this offense. Jaron Hall could come in and run this right away. It is very, very similar to what he was doing at BYU. That being said,
Hendon Hooker would be incredible.
Hendon Hooker would tear it up in this offense.
Yep.
But Daniel Jones is their guy. He didn't want him a playoff game. They want a playoff game with him on the roster. So they paid him. I get it. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. But at least it's a move I can wrap my head around and understand from their perspective. And like I keep saying, the fact that they were smart about how they're distributing the money and how they're letting it affect their cap space, I think they deserve a little bit of credit for that. Joe Shane is a smart GM. I like him a lot. He was somebody that I was looking at before the Bears were blessed with Ryan Poles. It's not a great signing, but he played it well.
And obviously,
also they get to keep Saquon on top of it.
They franchise tag Saquon, so that's always a good thing. But yeah, I mean, speaking of New York teams and quarterback situations, I suppose it's time to discuss the ever so real possibility that Aaron Rodgers becomes a New York Jet very, very soon. I want it to happen. I've said this so many times. Like, it is time. It is, and it's okay. Like, he is more valuable right now than he's going to be ever in the next few years.
Yep.
Right? I mean, like, next year, who knows how well he plays? His trade value probably goes down. His trade value goes down automatically with being a year older. Simple as that. And so I think that this is the best year to do it. The Jets have the assets. I believe that Jordan Love can at least be a functional quarterback. I'm not saying he'll be great, and if he's not, then we explore other options. But I think Jordan Love can definitely be at least functional. I think he's shown that he has the ability to be at least functional. as a thrower of the football. But he's not like he's great, and he might not even be good. But at this point, I have higher hope for him than a lot of people do because he's my quarterback, and he's going to be my quarterback at least probably next year. So I don't know. This is a good deal for the Jets. I had an argument with a Bills fan today at work. Should have stopped when I found out they were a Bills fan. But Bills fan saying that, like, Rodgers to the Jets doesn't make them anywhere near Super Bowl contenders because Rodgers is old and washed.
Makes them better than the Bills.
I literally said that right now the Jets roster is better than the Bills roster right now.
It is.
And adding Rodgers to that only adds the missing piece, the one thing that the Jets actually didn't have over the Bills. And now they might have it. I mean, yeah, but it's a lot closer than it was between Mike White and Josh Allen, right? Yeah. And Zach Wilson and Josh Allen. Like the one thing that was the clear, the Bills have this. This is like the advantageous gap. All of a sudden, gets a lot closer, And so, talking about this more from the Jets' perspective, I don't know if I want to call them immediate Super Bowl contenders with Rodgers. They would definitely be up there, and they would probably win that division, and they'd probably get to the AFC Championship. But
I'm calling them immediate Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah,
maybe they are.
You have to think about the injuries too. Mekhi Becton didn't play last year. Elijah Vera Tucker was not on the. That's their two best O linemen just not playing many games last year. The receivers were rookies. Breece Hall is going to come back now.
And they still have, like, this year's draft. They pick at 13.
Yeah.
Like, they can get, like, I don't know where they're going to go with their pick. But,
the defense
I'm assuming
is really
if they have
good.
Rodgers, they won't have that pick. But
I don't know. I don't know how that would go. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to figure out that trade.
If they are picking at 13, maybe, like, I guess I wouldn't hate Van Ness going there for sure. I mean, that would be sick.
I don't think they go defense. They have like 4 edge rushers that they rotate out already.
Yeah,
they do.
There is absolutely no reason for them to take edge.
They need an O line or
Bay's
like
gonna go up. Yep. Receiver.
Maybe
JSN's worth a pick that early. Top 15.
JSN, Quentin Johnson is a nice compliment to Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
That could work. But yeah, what do you guys just? I mean, Geek, you kind of just said you think it makes them contenders. Pretty.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Did you just say a nice compliment to Garrett Wilson?
Yeah.
Did I zone out? Were we talking about the Jets or the Packers just now?
We were talking about the Jets.
Which I don't know Quentin Johnson would be a good compliment to Garrett Wilson on the Jets. If
my brain just see. I thought for a second you were saying the Garrett Wilson would be in an Aaron Rodgers package, and I was like, wait a minute.
No, he would not be.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
No,
I'm sorry. I completely zoned out for a moment. That's my bad. I opened up Twitter and saw a picture of Haley Steinfeld and just.
But Miller,
no brain.
Miller, you're also on the train that the Jets with Rodgers are immediate Super Bowl contenders.
Oh no, they're absolutely contenders. Yeah, they are better than Buffalo.
I guess it depends on how much you like Saleh. I suppose.
I like Saleh.
Saleh's been great.
Anyone coming out of that Niners tree, I trust a lot. I really like the Jets' offense. Like Geek said, they're going to be getting their 2 best offensive linemen healthy next year. They're going to be getting Breece Hall healthy next year. They're going to be getting Nick Bodden healthy next year, one of the better up-and-coming fullbacks in the league. And you give Aaron Rodgers a core with really nice receivers, a really nice defense, and you add a couple more pieces here and there in the draft, and the Jets could be really scary. Now, I will say, and I cannot believe I'm saying this out loud, I hope Green Bay retains Aaron Rodgers. I desperately hope he stays a Green Bay Packer. Because that hurts the Packers a lot. Because holding on to Aaron Rodgers for another year would be worst case scenario for them.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I really, really hope he stays. I will lose to the Packers again, twice. I don't care. It hurts them long term, and that's what matters.
I personally don't want him to go to the Jets. Because if he does, that means he's a Viking in 2024, and I don't like it, so I'm good.
Yeah,
he'll just follow the Brett Favre career path, so I'm good.
Well, hold on now. He might not follow the Brett Favre career path because he's not going to have the interesting off the field things that Brett Favre did in New York, so maybe he'll stick around a little bit longer.
But also, I 100% believe Aaron Rodgers will be of the same mindset of I want to play anyone that plays the Packers.
Well, that's valid.
And
fair enough.
he's not going to the Bears. And I would hope by then the Lions have a quarterback. And I would hope that the Vikings have a quarterback. I don't really know, but I don't want to see it. Like, as much as, yes, adding Aaron maybe does make us a contender, I'm sick of doing this. I'm sick of always going after old quarterbacks. Go get a goddamn guy.
In Minnesota.
Sorry.
Like, who was the guy before when they got Brett Favre?
I believe Tavares Jackson was our last quarterback before we got Brett Favre.
So nobody good.
Hey!
Yeah.
Watch your fucking mouth. Also, rest in peace to Tavares Jackson.
He passed?
Oh, why didn't know he was dead? I'm sorry.
I also didn't know that.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah,
He was great.
fuck you.
He's fantastic.
When did he pass?
April 12th, 2020.
Damn, didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he
Retract
actually
my
wasn't that
O.
bad. Like, his first year starting, he went 8-4. 2,000
Wins on a
yards, 9
quarterback
touchdowns.
stat.
Hey, that's valid. Wins are a running back stat in this
Yeah.
case, because Adrian Peterson. And you can't disagree with me there. We only won games because of 28. From 2007 to 2015. He's the only reason we won games. What do you want? I'm not doing it.
You're forgetting number 42.
I'm not forgetting him.
Respect Jerome Felton.
He's great. But if it wasn't Adrian Peterson back there and it was the Bears' Adrian Peterson, we wouldn't have won any games.
Okay, well that's quite the drop off. That's not a fair
valid.
comparison.
Yeah,
I love bringing up
if you want
Bears.
Adrian Peterson to be average NFL running back, but a third stringer.
Also, I just wanted to bring up Bears Adrian Peterson because I don't think people.
You have a weird obsession with that man.
Because it used to confuse me so much.
Sounds like a skill issue.
Also, I was like 7. So
Skill issue. Age issue. Get older.
Dog, I don't want to hear it.
but-
You were like 3 at the time.
True.
That's real.
The-
But I think Adrian Peterson's confused at the age of 3, though.
Because you didn't know them.
Exactly. But guess what? That means I didn't get them confused.
You
so
would've.
I'm right. It dunked on.
That's right.
Jake,
You were too
next
busy
topic.
choking on baby
Bottom
food, you little
line.
fuck. God
Bottom
damn it.
line.
Didn't choke on baby food. I
The
was actually
Jets
too busy
will
learning how to
be
read from the
contenders.
DirecTV guidebook.
With Rodgers.
Huh?
Oh my god, Jake, I'm sorry, dog.
The Jets will be contenders with Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
And so we said we want to talk about running backs. So let's talk about Lamar Jackson.
Hold on.
I'm so sorry.
First of all, fuck you.
I'm so sorry.
Second of
What's
all,
wrong
I just
with
had a mini
Jackson?
heart attack.
Why?
Why?
So, do either of you know the name Daniel Greenberg?
Sounds familiar, but no.
He's a Chicago
Oh,
sports guy.
He's
His name on Twitter
I
is
know you
literally
know.
Shy Sport Updates. So he breaks a lot of Bears news.
Okay.
Got a notification on my screen from Daniel Greenberg and read the Chicago, and I thought, oh my god, the pick, it got traded. But no, it was just about Paul Gasol. Paul Gasol. Good lord.
What does Pow have
Paul
to do with
Gasol
the
getting
Bears?
his. No, it was Chicago Bulls,
Oh.
not Chicago Bears. I saw the Chicago, and I died. No, Pau Gasol got his number retired by the Lakers tonight. It
Gotcha.
scared me. I can't talk.
But yeah, let's round off our quarterback segment with one that Geek has a lot to say about with Lamar Jackson. The Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on him, meaning that other teams can offer him tons of money and negotiate with him and possibly even sign him and take him away from Baltimore. And obviously there are a few teams in that sweepstakes. The Panthers, I think, still seem to be in. A lot of teams have come out and straight up just said, yeah, we're not doing that.
It's
But
just so odd.
I think that the Falcons were a team that did that. The Panthers might have done that.
The
I haven't been
Raiders.
picking up on it. The Raiders did that. I think the Panthers are still in the sweepstakes. I think the Jets are still in the sweepstakes technically, if they aren't to land Rodgers. But the Vikings still are. The Commanders seem to be still are. So yeah, I'm gonna let one of you take the floor before we do anything. We've seen the true stupidity of NFL Twitter today due to this Lamar situation. So yes,
go ahead, Miller.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like I said, it's really odd. So many teams are just like, yeah, we don't want Lamar. Because he's Lamar. He's incredible. You hear he's available and you need a quarterback.
Why wouldn't
you
you
give up 2 first-round picks?
Like,
Right, or at least entertain a conversation. Like, figure out where the dude's head's at. Figure out if he feels like playing for the Ravens or if he's willing to leave or what the situation is.
wait, so just to kind of clarify, so I have an understanding of what non-exclusive means, does this mean some team can just sign him, or do they have to trade for him now that he's been tagged by the Ravens?
So
The Ravens have an opportunity to match. And if they don't match, he goes to the other team, I believe.
he just
So they
goes
don't
to
have
the
give
other
a
team
draft
for
pick
2
for
first
Lamar
round
at
picks.
this point.
You do.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get 2 compensatory first round picks from that team. So if it was the Vikings, they'd get pick 24 this year and whatever their pick is next year, which is wild because people are saying 2 firsts and the $45-50 million he wants is too much.
It's
Well,
worth
Russell
it.
Wilson just got dealt for 3 firsts, 3 actual starting caliber players, a second, a third. Don't start with me about Lamar being too much for 2 firsts. If you say that, you're just stupid.
Did you just call Drew Lock a starting caliber player?
No.
It sounds like you did.
He was talking
Noah
about
Fant,
literally
Shelby
everybody
Harris.
else in the deal. Drew Lock was just there to make it look like
just
the
filler
Seahawks
because-
get Mark Gino.
Guys,
Yeah.
stop being mean to Drew Lock.
No,
Drew
I will
Lock
never
sucked
stop.
donkey balls. But anyways, talking about a real quarterback and Lamar Jackson, it's a weird situation. I hope he's able to get his stuff figured out because he deserves his money.
Yes.
Although I do find it interesting that after he's had the non-exclusive tag, there were reports that the NFLPA was investigating collusion among owners that
As
are
they
trying
should.
to,
That's the only answer.
Right, that are trying to prevent another Deshaun Watson situation, which, first of all, fuck Cleveland and fuck Deshaun Watson for ruining the quarterback market.
Yeah.
I'm glad we still have a little bit of time before we have to worry about paying a quarterback in Chicago, because maybe this shit will have blown over by then. Probably not. But when you're dealing with a team like Baltimore, whose owner physically cannot pull together the money to give Lamar a fully guaranteed $400 million contract, it makes sense that there's going to be some issues, but there are plenty of owners who maybe don't want to do that, but can, and it would be
Should.
smart for them to do it. The Atlanta Falcons, for example. Hand that man a fucking blank check. What, is Desmond Ridder stopping you? Is the potential of getting one of these guys at the top of the draft stopping you? That's ridiculous. Lamar Jackson is better than all of them. He would fit the type of offense that Arthur Smith wants to run perfectly. He loves his tight ends. Give him Kyle Pitts. Imagine Lamar and Kyle Pitts in the same fucking offense. With Lamar being able to rely on Keith Smith, Tyler Algier, and Cordell Patterson in his backfield. Also with Drake London and another receiver that you can go out and get because the Falcons receiver core is kind of weak outside of that.
Yeah.
And then you beef up your offensive line a little bit. That's a fucking psychotic offense. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Who do that? Instead, you're sitting on your fucking ass and you're like, Desmond Ridder, shut up.
Or what about
Rich
the
Eisen said
Panthers?
nobody can. Carolina, too, could very easily go out and do it. Also makes a ton of
They
sense.
should.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I
Hell,
get
even the Raiders.
the Raiders, the Lions, the Vikings, the Commanders, any team that has any possible need for a quarterback, fuck it. The 49ers, consider it. You gotta.
Give them Purdy. Strike while the iron's hot.
Well, no, there's no trade here. It's just sign the guy and lose 2 firsts. That's it. I think. Maybe he can
Cut
be traded
Purdy
up
so
until
they
the
can sign
15th.
him.
I don't know. Maybe
know.
that's still possible because I don't know.
Just cut
Tags are weird.
Purdy and do some collusion shit where he just goes to the Ravens no matter what.
Who else could go for him? I'm trying to think.
Literally anyone that doesn't have an established quarterback.
Yeah, basically the entire NFC South outside of the Saints now.
Dude,
I mean,
they did.
if Rodgers is gone, even the Packers should consider it.
Yeah, don't bring that up.
I don't want
Ash tweeted about
No,
it.
if he's going to the North, he is a Viking, and we all know it. That's it.
He's not a Viking.
He's a Viking.
Nowhere near Viking. Nobody wants to
Viking.
Minnesota. No, sir.
Literally everybody wants to play from Minnesota. We are literally the best franchise to play for in the NFL. Thank you very much. Weirdos.
That's why you've won so many Super Bowls.
Nobody wants to play Tyree Wilson twice a year.
Dude, you know you're drafting JSN. Get over it.
Nobody wants to play Jack Sanborn 2 times a year.
They don't.
I do.
Respect Sanborn. He's better than any linebacker you have, Jake.
That was not
That's valid.
What? That wasn't even a thing on San. Okay, apparently I can't say anything about the Bears that
Respect Jack Sanborn, bitch.
Whatever. Devontae Campbell's back.
Best linebacker to ever come out of Wisconsin. Period.
Ooh, I don't know about that. Valid.
He's not, but fuck it.
It's okay. Leo Chenal better. It's allowed. That doesn't hurt you.
He is better, but he hasn't done as much, sadly. But that's
he just won a Super Bowl, actually.
It's not his, it's not his fault. It's a coaching thing. Anyways, point being, Lamar good, deserve money. Don't know why he hasn't gotten it. Well, I do know why he hasn't gotten it, but it's shitty that he hasn't gotten it.
I think we're all in agreement about this one. The fact that just Lamar is going to get paid by somebody. And
somebody's going to give him the fully guaranteed deal anyway.
The chances of it being the Ravens are just so low at this point.
Like I said, they physically can't give him the fully guaranteed
deal. It's really
deal.
interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting to see where he will end up. As long as it's not the Vikings, I am a happy man.
It'll be the Vikings. You heard it here first.
Whoa!
Kirk Cousins will be a 49er. We are going to get Lamar. So in reality, we're going to trade the 24th. Well, our pick next year and the 24th pick have to go to Baltimore. We'll get Lamar, but then you trade Kirk to the Niners for like a 4th this year and a 1st next year. Boom, the Niners have a chance to go win a Super Bowl because they have a quarterback who can actually stay healthy. That is their biggest issue. Nobody has ever been able to stay on the field for the 49ers. Kirk would at least stay healthy, and it's not like you have to do much with that Niners team to get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That dump-off that he had to Hawkinson that lost us a game would probably win the game for the Niners because it would have been CMC. And
all that just to get beat by better Lamar Jackson twice a year.
Let me know when Justin Fields has a season throwing the ball that's even half as good as Lamar's worst. Then you can talk.
All right, we'll be talking next offseason.
Maybe. Or we'll be talking about how the Bears are drafting Caleb Williams. That's also possible.
All I hear is me winning.
That's valid, actually. Caleb Williams is insane.
Yes.
I don't ever want to have to play against him, ever. I hope he goes to the XFL.
I gotta think of Tic Tacs.
But, yeah, I mean, we're all in agreement about Lamar.
Hold on. Y'all want to hear the crunch? Y'all want to hear the crunch? It wasn't crunchy. Hold on. There it is.
Good job.
Should get paid. Will get paid. By who? We don't know. But we had talked about the Vikings and the Lamar sweepstakes, so I find it only right to turn it over to our friend Geek as he reminisces about the memories he has of Eric Kendricks, who has been officially cut by the Vikings, saving them some cap room.
We're in the splash zone, Jake.
Knew this was coming.
It's sad. No, that's the fucked up part. I knew it was coming, and it still fucked me up.
Yeah, I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, it makes sense. You had to do it. I've been saying that forever. Did you guys see his Instagram post about it?
No.
It was actually depressing. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, God. I have done too much Twittering today. That's all I know.
Twittering. Me when I'm Twittering.
What am I supposed to say? Twitting?
Tweeting?
Well, no.
Utilizing Twitter?
Because wouldn't that be Twittering?
Shut up.
But no, his goodbye post was, it just started with Minnesota I gave you my all. That's it. Then he's like, they told me it was a business, but I'll always treat it like the game I love. Heart on my sleeve for everyone to see. I don't know any other way. Hashtag Skull. And that was it. And it made me very depressed. It makes sense. We had to move on. He was not the player last year that he was in years previous. Though I am pissed at Vikings fans saying he was never that good anyways. I'm sorry. He was a top 3 linebacker in the NFL for nearly a decade. He was the best coverage linebacker in football for nearly a decade. Until like 2 years ago, where he was still top 5. That last year with Zimmer. And then we get Ed Donatel, and basically everyone outside of Harrison Smith and Danielle Hunter sucks. So, is that really the player's fault, or is it Donatel's fault? I don't know. I don't know. I think EK needs to go to somewhere actually good. He needs to be a Chief, or a Bill, or a Bengal.
I was predicting the Chiefs, yeah.
I kind of like the Bengals.
Make a lot of sense.
Because they're losing Jermaine Pratt. Because he's a cunt. And EK's like a really good locker room guy. So that's a win for the Bengals. But it is depressing. One of my favorite players to ever watch. I'm pissed, though. NFL Shop refuses to make his jersey on sale at all. But I've realized Dalvin Cook number 33 jerseys are still $150. Apparently Vikings jerseys just don't go on sale.
Greedy ass organization.
That's not up to them, dog.
Let me cook.
No. I've seen a lot of Bears fans talking about EK, and I hate it. If I see him suit up for the Bears...
No disrespect to EK, but I don't want him.
He doesn't fit the timeline.
Yeah.
Jinx.
And there is a linebacker from Indianapolis that I would much rather have in his place.
He's also much
He
younger.
fits our timeline.
Yeah.
Like,
and I said this on Twitter. I think that this is kind of a Bobby Wagner situation for Eric Kendricks because he's a guy who kind of regressed athletically and regressed in coverage, but if put in the right scheme defensively, he can still be so impactful on a defense. Yep. And
does he even really need to be in the right scheme, though?
I don't know. He can still be impactful on a defense.
And he still was impactful. Like, that's the thing.
While
he declined...
It's just in a different way than he was known to be.
Right.
Like, and I think he'll add... I think the Chiefs work a lot because their defense is so young in a lot of areas. So having a veteran guy like him to kind of, lead the young guys and also just be like a leader on that defense is would be very good for them. Same thing with the Bills. I mean, the Bills already have... arguably one of the better defenses in the NFL, so having him add to that would also be very good. But
the other issue with the Chiefs, though, is
no money.
No, Willie Gay and Nick Bolton exist.
I guess, yeah, you're right.
Also, the bigger news out of this: Jerick McKinnon, former Viking, commented on Eric Kendricks' Instagram post and said, "Fuck it. Where are we going?" So just let's listen to where the jet goes, because that's where EK's going. I'm calling it. Wherever McKinnon goes, EK goes.
Yeah.
The boys are getting back together.
The Geek Slaves official prediction. Wherever Jerick McKinnon plays for next year, that's where we'll see Eric Kendricks.
Yeah.
But finally, free agency stuff. Just to wrap it up, like every good running back who's a free agent has been tagged or has been at least had news come out about them. So here we are. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard have all received the franchise tag, and David Montgomery and Miles Sanders have both had news come out that they probably will not be staying with their respective teams. So obviously, I mean, Saquon, Jacobs, Pollard, all very good moves. They're guys who they all can keep. I think the more interesting storyline is like the Montgomery and the Sanders news, because these two guys, both part of the two top 5, I think, rushing attacks in the NFL last year.
I think 1 and 2.
Top 5. 1 and 2. The two running backs, RB1s for the top 2 running back rushing attacks in the NFL, and Montgomery's obviously a guy who's pretty important to the Bears. I'll kind of let you sound off on him, David. But I would assume that you do not feel comfortable rolling in next year with Khalil Herbert as RB1. So if this news is true and if David Montgomery is to leave, where do you think the Bears should go directionally at running back?
Okay, here's the thing. Looking at these two teams as a whole, because these two running backs both drafted in the same draft, same round. I can remember actually leading up to the draft, my dad was a big Miles Sanders guy. I was a big David Montgomery guy. So we had our back and forth, and to this day we have our back and forth. Miles Sanders, despite being more productive, makes more sense to leave than David Montgomery does. For Miles Sanders, Philadelphia has the best offensive line in football. They have Jalen Hurts, who is one of the best rushing quarterbacks in football. They have a tremendous ability to scheme the run from a coaching standpoint. And from reports that have come out, they're pretty high on Kenny Gainwell, which, fine. I'm not exactly the highest on him, but given everything around him, I'm sure he can be productive if you do a little RB by committee thing. And with Philly having all of the upcoming free agents they have, I get not wanting to pay a running back when you can spend that money on TJ Edwards or Javon Hargrave or whoever. The Chicago side of things, running back market just took a massive hit with guys like Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs or Tony Pollard all getting franchise tagged. So from the Chicago side of things, you're going to let your best, arguably best, I would say probably second best offensive weapon behind Justin Fields walk. And the biggest complaint that a lot of Bears fans have right now with our team is that our offense does not have any weapons. David Montgomery is not only a great running back, a great runner of the football between the tackles, granted not the most productive, but he's dealt with some injuries, he's played behind some really bad offensive lines, he's dealt with some weird coaching that Matt Nagy didn't like to run the ball a whole lot. And he's also been splitting carries as of late, so when you split carries, your production's going to go down. In the pass game, he is one of the best running backs in football. With as a catcher of the football, as a blocker, as a route runner, just in terms of intelligence as a running back in the passing game, there's very few running backs that are better than David Montgomery. His relevance in the passing game is not something you're going to find in a free agent running back. Maybe you find it in the draft with a guy like Tyjae Spears or something, but it's just kind of something that is going to be hard to replicate, and Khalil Herbert sure as shit doesn't have. Now, from a pure running standpoint, Khalil Herbert is nice. I'm okay with him as RB1. I know I've given him a lot of shit lately, but he's a good runner of the football. He just doesn't provide that versatility or that dynamicness that David Montgomery does. And I would argue he also isn't quite as consistent. I know the numbers say otherwise because he had a higher yard per carry and whatnot, but the tape doesn't lie. So it's going to break my heart to see Montgomery walk. I think it's a bad move, but it's one I can understand. Paying a running back nowadays is bad practice, according to most GMs, so I understand letting him walk and maybe just getting a running back in free agent or in the draft that is, more geared towards the passing game, and then you run him as your third down back. You got Herbert as your workhorse, so to speak, and you cook from there. He's got to say something, so I'm going to shut up.
Paying running backs is bad practice. Look at every Super Bowl winning team.
Yeah, no, I know.
How many in the last 30 years had a star running back?
Right, yeah, I get
Marshawn
it.
Lynch and Terrell Davis, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And
no,
Marshawn Lynch that year wasn't even the leading rusher in the Super Bowl for the
Percy
Seahawks.
Harvin, we know.
Let me bring up my boys. You get into it. You bring up Jack Sanborn for no reason.
Jake brought Jack Sanborn up.
Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way, but, as I've previously stated.
Monty's interesting. What are your thoughts on Rashad Penny to replace him?
I don't like Penny.
We've talked about this. He's not the Penny guy.
I don't trust him. He can't stay healthy.
That's the hill we're dying on here?
That's not really the hill I'm willing to die on. I don't think he's better than Montgomery.
Monty's never played a full season. Monty's only had 1,000 yards once.
again, he's had 1,000 all-purpose yards every year of his career.
Okay. Again, I get it, kind of, but also, I don't like Khalil Herbert that much. I don't know what the best answer for the Bears is, other than it would be intriguing if when they made their 7 trade backs that they're going to do at the beginning of the draft, what if they trade back up into the first for Bijan? I'd hate
I wouldn't
it,
be against it.
because that's like
I wouldn't be against
Monty,
it.
but better. Like a better athlete and projects to be better. I'm not saying he will be. It's draft picks. It doesn't matter how good they seem like they'll be. They could suck.
Yeah, no.
But
I don't know. I'll put it this way, though. I really hope the Bears' plan isn't to run into the season with Khalil Herbert as RB1 and then Treston Ebner as their receiving back, because that dude is fucking dog shit. Jarrett, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I know you love Ebner. He is awful. There's not a single redeeming quality to his game. He's not good. Can't pass block. Can't catch as good as he did in college. He's not a good kick returner. He's not good at running between the tackles. He's not fast. He's not good. He shouldn't be on the roster next year. He should get cut during training camp. If we have a plan to replace Montgomery, if there are running backs that Ryan Poles, Matt Eberflus, and Luke Getsy are just enamored with in this draft class, because to my understanding, I obviously haven't done a deep dive yet, but to my understanding, it is a deep running back class. If there are guys that they are just absolutely enamored with, and I'm okay with it. I trust those guys. I trust what they're doing. I trust them with everything right now. For now. They haven't given me a reason not to trust them, is where I'm getting at. Obviously, that can change because there are a lot of things going into this offseason, but for now, nothing they've done that would make me not trust them. I think Montgomery is going to be better than whoever we're going to end up with, at least at first. You know, maybe we draft a guy like Spears again. I know I keep going back to him, but the idea of another two-lane running back that wore number 22 coming to Chicago, just like, I don't know, it gets me giddy inside. But, you know, it's tough because I love Monty. I really do. Other than Kari and Cole and Justin, Monty's right up there as my favorite player. Like, I swear to God, I flip-flop between those 4 as my favorite player every day. You ask me, it'll be some variation of those 4. And seeing him walk is going to break my heart because I've seen how not only how important he is to the team, but how close he is with the teammates. I don't know if you guys have seen the clip of him and Justin Fields the day they were cleaning out their lockers. But Justin was getting interviewed by like 30 people, and Monty ran over and went, "Bye, Justin," and kissed him on the forehead and then ran away giggling. And I thought that was like the sweetest thing ever. I don't know. It seems like a tight-knit group in their backfield, and it's going to hurt to see them go. Especially because there's a chance Kari leaves, too. I think I'll put it this way. I think it's a lot more likely we keep Kari than Monty. Just because I think it's going to be hard to find a fullback that can replicate what he does. Granted, there's a certain guy from North Dakota State University that if we're going to let Kari walk, I would be perfectly okay with him replacing him. But I also have an attachment to Kari because he follows me on Twitter. So I really hope they don't let him go because I love Kari and I want to see what he could do actually getting the ball in his hands. But I digress. Main point here. As for Monty, I get it. It's going to break my heart, but I totally understand it.
Mm-hmm.
However, if for the right price, I'd keep him personally. Under $10 million, he's saying a bear if I'm the GM. But given the fact that all the free agent running backs just kind of got pulled out of the,
yeah,
I don't know how likely that's going to be. So at the very least,
ooh, the Bears are
hope is
trading
he goes-
for Dalvin. That's the answer.
We'll give you a 5th for him.
Make it a 4th, and you got a deal.
Oh wait, no, Dalvin was bad last year. Never mind.
I mean, he still had more total yards than Monty ever has, and more touchdowns, and is still probably faster. Even though we're saying Dalvin Cook slowed down, you got to remember that's from 4.35 to 4.45. Like, it's slower, but it's still super fast.
Yeah.
I will say this though: if Monty leaves, I really hope he goes to Kansas City. I think that would be a wonderful place for him to go. I don't know how much it would make sense with Pacheco there, but I'd like to see him be in a position to win a ring. And apparently him and Matt Nagy are actually friends, which is shocking, but
Valid.
Maybe there's something there. Either there or I don't know. It's not Buffalo. Please don't go to Buffalo.
Valid.
I don't like Buffalo.
I don't want to dislike him.
Just such a lovable player, man.
Yep.
So he's quiet, keeps his head down, works hard, seems like a great teammate. Funny, goofy little guy. I love Monty. I'm gonna cry, man. If he leaves, I will cry.
There's only one Viking I'm feeling really that way about right now, because he's the one guy I don't think we're moving on from.
Thielen? No.
Harry.
You think you're... Oh, yeah.
Because he's the one of those guys that, actually still performed. So I just don't see a world where we move him. And his contract was so set up to be restructured anyways. I think we keep him just because. I think, unless he wants out, I think we keep him and let him retire a Viking.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I can't even think of the last player I cried over, man. It's been a while, but Monty will be the next one for sure.
I can think of lots, actually.
I can think of lots, but I can't think of the last one.
I will.
Obviously, I could sit here and list Urlacher, Briggs, Tillman, Jennings, Cutler, Forte. Sorry,
I might cry when Cobb retires or leaves. I've been a big fan of Cobb my entire life.
He's already left. Once.
Yeah, but shut up. Second of all,
you just got ratioed.
I definitely shed a couple tears when Jordy Nelson left. That was a big one.
I could go on for days.
I wasn't as attached to Devontae Adams as I was Jordy Nelson, just because of the length of being in Green Bay. But I was definitely sad about Devontae. But I was on a podcast, so I couldn't just sit there and cry the entire time while Geek was like,
That's how I was with Mitch. I didn't cry because I knew it was coming, but
I cried about Teddy for a while. Yeah.
What else did I cry? When I was a kid, I cried about Donald Driver. I was like, man.
But I sobbed for an hour when I found out Brian Urlacher wasn't re-signing in 2013. Hester got me too.
Adrian Peterson got me.
Yeah, makes sense.
Jordan Howard got me, which is really weird looking back on it because I don't like Howard in hindsight, but I loved him when he was on the team.
Harvin
I just have an affinity for running backs.
got me.
Percy Harvin makes
Sidney Rice really got me. I mean, turned out to be okay because he struggled to stay on the field in Seattle, but Sidney Rice killed me because I thought he was the next Randy for our team, and just didn't happen.
Have you guys ever cried over a player retiring that didn't play for one of your teams? Because I did.
Oh,
makes sense. I cried over Marcel Reese.
Valid, Marcel. Oh, Nnamdi Asamoah.
Yeah.
Nnamdi the
Asamoah.
GOAT. No. It's Nnamdi Asamoah.
Asamoah.
Actually, it's Nnamdi Asamuga.
Agamuga.
Or no, how did I used to say it? Nnamdi Asamoah. Because I was trying to pronounce every letter in his name.
Asamoah.
Waga. There's a G.
I know, but it sounds like you're saying Wada.
Wada. I like Wada.
Asamoah.
Okay. We need to move on.
We've officially went off the deep end.
Yeah. Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Jacobs got franchise tagged. Is anyone surprised?
Sure. No, I mean, those are good moves, and I think that
I'm not surprised, but I'm sad.
You said, yeah, sure.
Valid.
I wanted Saquon to replace
makes
Monty.
the running back market kind of makes the running back market a little bit less interesting, but no surprises there. All very good players who stick with their teams.
There's still a ton of trade candidates at running back, though. Dalvin Cook could be on the move. I'm seeing rumors today that Nick Chubb could be on the move for some fucking reason.
That got shot down really quick.
Yeah,
that came
but
out
I'm still
yesterday
seeing
and then got shot down quick.
More people are talking about it now. Or at least
Henry
they were.
could be moved.
That one's real.
Shot. That one's real, but
where does Derrick Henry fit?
Anywhere. He's a good running back. I don't care
Okay,
where it is.
I
A
want him to go
bad
to
team is
Cincy,
not
but I don't know
trading
how
for
well
him.
he fits.
A
No,
bad
he's going
team
to a
can't trade for him.
contender.
So he can't just be anywhere.
It will be the
I'd like to see him in Cincy.
That would be interesting.
Give Burrow a nice workhorse to take some of the pressure off of him in the offensive line.
Dalvin Cook to Cincy would be interesting, though, because he's like,
Alvin
what?
Cook to Cincy would go crazy.
Right, because he's what Mixon and Pirine were supposed to be, only he's still a lot better than both of those guys.
Yeah. Also, let's hope Mixon doesn't go to a team
Valid. Well,
and he gets cut.
based off what we're seeing now, I don't know if
He
he's...
might go to prison.
Yeah. Alvin Kamara might be going to prison, too. A lot of running backs going to prison.
What's up with running backs and criminal charges, man? You never see fullbacks go to prison.
Shut up. I don't.
I can think of one fullback that got in legal trouble, and I've already disowned him, so it doesn't bother me.
Valid.
Shout out Bruce Miller, man.
Derrick Henry to the Bills would go hard. I just don't know why they do that.
Don't even bring it up, because if
Yeah,
you speak it into existence, it can happen.
Where else could Derrick Henry be cool at?
Philadelphia!
I mean,
Doesn't matter.
that would be
Literally
interesting,
any-
but they have no money.
Like the Madden League.
team.
No, again, there are some teams where it just doesn't make sense. He can't go to the... God damn it, my brain is broken. He can't go to the... He's not going to the Giants. They have Saquon. Why would he go there?
Yeah.
That's no like... He's not going to the Raiders. They just... Oh,
Dolphins.
holy fuck. I don't like that. No.
Then you
Take
move
that back.
Eckler to receiver full time.
There you go.
Yeah.
No,
Or
he's
just cut
a
him.
49er.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
They-
Derrick Henry is a 49er. They're using CMC and Derrick Henry. It's the greatest running back duo of all time. Trey Lance and
Just wait
Brock
until the
Purdy
trade for
don't
Lamar.
throw another pass. It's just the Derrick Henry and CMC show. That's it.
They trade for Derrick Henry, they keep CMC, and then they trade for Lamar.
There you go.
And
The
also trade for
greatest-
Justin Fields.
The
And then
greatest
bring
running
Lamar-
team of all time.
Bring Mike Vick out of retirement. Bring Randall Cunningham out of retirement.
Tebow, Terrell Pryor.
Yeah. Anthony Richardson gets drafted by the 49ers.
Jesus Christ. No. All right.
And they trade all the receivers and just run like 8 offensive linemen and 3 backs every play.
So we just
Juicing a quarterback and a running back. Sorry, go ahead.
So we're over 2 hours. Jake, do your thing.
We want to thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Run the North podcast. From 2, possibly 3 very tired people, we do appreciate you guys' support. There are a ton of very, very exciting things coming to this podcast. So if you are not following us on Spotify, if you're not following us on Twitter, at Run the North, or on TikTok at Run the North, or on Instagram at Run the North, or on YouTube on Run the North, what are you doing with your life? Because if you ain't following...
We're interviewing an NFL fullback
We are
in the
interviewing
near
NFL
future.
fullback. We are looking to interview some draft prospects. When we have those locked down, we'll let you guys know. But there are some big things coming for this podcast. All 3 of us are all in. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for all of our content and go follow us on all social platforms. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye!